Today, on this old road, I'm checking out an abandoned section of old US 191 right at the Utah-Idaho state line. And the operative word in that sentence is old. The US 191 that I'm visiting today has very little relationship to the present day US 191 in Utah. You see, when this section of the route was retired, not only was the roadway abandoned, the number got recycled too, and was eventually reassigned to a completely different road. This is Oneida County, Idaho, just south of the town of Malad. I'm about midway between Pocatello, Idaho, and Ogden, Utah. The street signs here still recall the heritage of this route, which is now largely forgotten. Modern-day US 91 doesn't pass through Idaho at all. In fact, it's 250 miles to the east in Rock Springs, Wyoming. This version of US 191 was first designated in this area in 1937, and it stretched southward from Idaho Falls, eventually extending as far as Brigham City, Utah by 1946. In the ensuing decades, as America's new interstate highways took shape, the path traced by US 191 in this area was largely adopted as the route for the new Interstate 15. And that proved to be this old road's demise. By 1972, US 191 was erased from the maps here, replaced by the new freeway. Here in Oneida County, the memory of the old route lives on in the name of this county road, but surprisingly, some portions of this road named Old Highway 191 aren't really even the old road. Here at the state line, this spot is indeed on the same alignment where US 191 crossed the border. There are wide spots on each side of the road. Maybe these were just maintenance turnarounds, but I'd like to think that they were here to allow people to pull over and take pictures in front of the state line sign. This boring vanilla sign does not date back to that era, but at least it's better than the sign that's facing southbound traffic, which only mentions the new county and fails even to acknowledge the state line. Both north and south of the state line, the old road's fate is even more ignominious. Several miles of the old highway have been returned to private ownership, and now those decommissioned sections serve as an arrow straight tractor road for the local property owners. Where this road once bisected these parcels, it now has become an access road through unified property. In Utah, there are about 4.5 miles like this, slightly skewed diagonal from the county range and township road grid, but perfectly straight as it cuts across these ranches. Obviously, all of this is now private property, but from what I can see in the places where the public roads intersect the old right-of-way, it still appears to be in pretty good shape. In some places, the old pavement is lined with livestock feeders and a couple of barns, and perhaps a feed silo, but the locked gates and trespassing warnings prevent any deeper exploration. So at this point, I'm on 24,000 north, almost at the Idaho state line here in Box Elder County. Old US 91 has been completely relinquished by the state. You can see the gates on this side, and also on this side over here. There's faint traces of the center line of the road, and it continues straight as an arrow beyond the gate, now being used as a cattle ranch. This is looking north toward Malad. Now looking toward the south, you can still see straight as an arrow, and right there you can even see where the Road on the other side of the freeway crests the hill toward Plymouth, Utah. Up in Idaho, there's even more like this, about 8.5 miles, which begin at the point where the modern old Highway 191 veers to the right, away from the original alignment. I didn't continue beyond these gates because I couldn't tell whether this is a public easement or not. However, combining information gleaned from old topographic maps and modern satellite imagery can tell the story. First, take a look at this topographic map from the U.S. Geological Survey dated 1968. The location I just showed a minute ago where the modern-day road veers away from the original route would be at about this location on the map. North of that, there are two things to call out before I turn to the satellite view. First, note this 4-lane section of divided highway which ran for about a mile near the town of Woodruff. And over here in Woodruff, there's a very minor road running parallel to US 191. The map suggests that it wasn't even paved. And then beyond that, there's nothing at all further east of Woodruff. The other interesting thing to note is that there's a rest area shown on this map, about midway between the northern end of the divided section and the point where the highway bends to parallel the railroad tracks. Now, here's that same area on the satellite view. This is that 4-lane section of highway right here, and here's the town of Woodruff. And that old, unimproved road from the earlier map is now called Old Highway 191. Further east, the freeway is now present. And this is the Samaria interchange, exit number 3. Depending on which way you're going, it's either the first or the last exit from Interstate 15 in Idaho. But obviously at this point, what's billed as Old Highway 191 actually isn't. Moving up now to that rest area. Remember, the old map showed that it was halfway between here and there. That means that it would have been about right here. But there's no trace of it. These plowed fields don't seem to exhibit any indication that there once was a rest area here. And actually, I'm not even sure what a rest area from that era would have looked like. Were there any restrooms like we would expect in a rest area today? Maybe it was just a roadside pullout with a picnic table. If you know, or maybe even if you remember, please let me know in the comments. Back on the Utah side, there's a similar jog in the modern-day county road, where the old road continues straight ahead toward the south. This location is just west of the freeway at the Portage exit, which is either the first or the last interchange in Utah, exit number 398. The old road continues straight ahead, while the newer road meanders to remain nearer to the freeway. To close out this video, I want to show you one more old section, which actually remained in service until about 1990. One of the last two gaps in Interstate 15 to be completed in Utah was the 15 miles between Interstate 84 and Plymouth. Traffic headed for Pocatello had to exit the freeway prior to reaching Tremonton and use the old road, which was called Temporary 15. It was 2-lane traffic for the entire distance until it finally landed back onto the freeway about 7 miles shy of the Idaho state line. Nearly all of that old Temporary 15 section of old US 191 is now a part of Utah State Route 13 today, except for that final mile, which has been left pretty much as it was in 1990, until it finally reaches this unceremonious dead end at the freeway. The pavement that once connected directly onto the interstate has been torn up now, but you can see the path of old US 191 continuing not onto the freeway, but on the same alignment across the freeway. There's also an old roadside historical marker here. Well, that's it for today. That's my look at old US 191. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I thank you for sticking around all the way to the very end. Please give the video a thumbs up so that YouTube will share it with other like-minded viewers. And if you enjoy the content on this channel, I'd be honored to have you as a subscriber. Thank you for watching.